Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources. Welcome to today's edition of Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network. Whether you are caring for a senior, are a senior, or just plan to be one, we hope you'll enjoy today's program. Join Helping Seniors TV host and longtime senior advocate Joe Steckler for this discussion about getting good help in finding the right living plan. Troy Denault, who is the president of Soter LLC, discusses the free services available to families who are looking to make the best decisions about help staying at home or looking for appropriate living options.
Welcome to this edition of Helping Seniors. Over the years, it's been my pleasure to do a lot of different shows about the aging industry, the senior citizens, the elderly, the frail elderly. But one of the most important things we have to realize in growing older is how do we take care of our people? And my panelist today is a fellow by the name of Troy Denault, and Troy is the owner of Soter Family Advocates. Welcome, Troy.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
And the reason I made the comment, Troy, that I did on the opening part of the show is that the healthcare industry is changing. Not only at the national level with the Republicans and Democrats, they can't even make up their minds what they want to do. And no matter what they say, we're still going to pay more for insurance. Healthcare is going to cost us more. And if our leadership doesn't do something about helping drive down the cost of care, then we're all going to suffer in the long run. But I would like to think that you and a couple of other agencies that do similar services are doing something to get people in what I call the right element of care. It's not just so much jamming a person into a daycare or a nursing home or an assisted living facility or a 3-person home or a 6-person home. It's about getting them into the element of care that they need. A lot of times they can still be cared for at home, and I like to see it's like a slope. And we go from being at home to eventually, if they live long enough, a nursing home. So where on that ladder of placement does a person need to be? And that's what you do. You're a placement agency, and I want you to tell our viewing audience today what Soter Family Advocates does, how you do it, and the hardest part of it is to get into the cost business of it, because people don't understand what you do, and once they understand, they'll understand why the cost is not much to be said. So you explain it.
Got it. Well, thanks, Joe. Yeah, in regards to what we do as a placement agency or as an advocacy group, the system in general, there are many layers to it, from the hospital to home care to private duty home care, and they all have their own niches. And what we do is a lot of times a crisis or a family member or a church member or somebody knows that we exist, and we help families navigate where they're at today, where they're going to be tomorrow, and try to help them to kind of get proactive in front of it so that they understand, what services are available to them in their current environment, if it's safe to be in that current environment, what the next steps would be, what the costs associated would be, the insurances that are available, what benefits might be out there, like veterans benefits or potentially like Medicaid benefits, state benefits, grants, things of that nature that can help to support them in that decision, whether it be at home or looking at other living options or going to a hospital or even a senior, we'll just say a senior independent living type of setting. So what we do is we really kind of come in, do discovery on what is going on with that individual family situation, because every family is different, every dynamic is different. And really get to understand there are 3 main components to really identifying the best way to help and kind of digging in from there. Those three pieces being, of course, the finances. A lot of times people are interested, we have to understand how it's going to be paid for. A second component is what is going on clinically. Am I healthy? Was I recently diagnosed with something? Am I dealing with mid to late stages of dementia, or am I caring for somebody that's dealing with mid to late stages of dementia and it's starting to wane on me and physically affect me? And so what those next steps would be, either A, in bringing support services into the home, or in looking into an assisted living or that next step.
Yeah. When I think of the word you used, that I used it to, placement, and then you threw the word veteran in. I did a show recently with a lady that does home modifications and helps redesign a home to fit a person as it becomes more difficult for them to live in her home. But as I turned through the questions that she has sent to me, I saw a whole new section opened up, and it was under the word veteran. I didn't realize there are so many ways for veterans to pay for home modifications, and we didn't know about it. And if I don't know about it with all the work we do, there's a pretty good chance the general market is not going to know about it either. The same thing in your business. In your brochure, you've got one little section there that talks about 4 levels of veterans benefits that we find most people don't know about.
That's right.
What you do, and in addition to placing a person, you help people walk through all kinds of care on this elements of care ladder.
Amen.
To get the right spot. You don't want to jam somebody in a nursing home before they're ready to leave their home.
They're going to decline. Exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And there's, I've been in healthcare for a number of years, and is one that it's as you're in the system, run some nonprofits in the area, got to know a lot of different players in the community as to what home care does, the skilled side of things, Medicare, PT, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. You get to know what those guys do. And then private duty and bringing companion services in to maybe cook dinner or do some cleaning around the house. And then you've got skilled nursing facilities, or the nursing home that people traditionally think of, assisted livings. You've got hospices, and there's just so many layers of healthcare, and it gets very confusing. And it's not something that, we go to our doctor when we're sick, and we go to the hospital when something breaks, but beyond that, we really don't do a whole lot of investigating.
I know.
So when that things start to change, and we do have to start looking and investigate, the system has its own agenda. And so where we sit is we sit on the family side of the fence and go, this is what these people do. This is what these people do. This is where you are currently, and maybe we can incorporate this and incorporate that to keep you here at home, versus, as you say, let's jam them into a facility or force a move into an assisted living because that's how we get paid. Or there is an agenda involved. And if we can just meet the family as to where they're at, and that's how you can make a difference.
We live in an age of extended families. And I'm sure a lot of the people that call you, or I would hope that some of the people that call you are members of this extended family that need help with somebody that's, say, living in Brevard County. Yeah. They live outside. They don't know where to go. They don't know the resources. And I would imagine that in order for you to be effective in doing what you do, you have to do research on the assisted living facilities, on the home care services, the skilled nursing care services, and a range of all the services, resources that elderly access.
That's right. Kind of like a social worker. I explain to families all the time, that if you could imagine walking into a Ben and Jerry's and you walk up to the glass and there's all the ice cream behind the glass, the fundamentals of assisted living are, like the ice cream, it's cold, it's made with sugar, there's milk involved.
That's rum raisin ice cream, I like it better.
But that's where I'm at, is that there's some basic fundamental pieces as to what these are regulated to do, but to know the resources, to have walked in all 140 assisted livings that are here in Brevard County, to understand what their flavor is, that's how you make a difference in people's lives. Because if you can financially afford it, and the nurses are the greatest nurses in the world, and they can clinically take care of you. But if it's for me, being a military vet, we go in a place and it's pink wallpaper with flowers all over it, and we're just gonna sing songs, and I'm not gonna do well in that kind of environment. So I have to, but there are other communities out there that go out on a pontoon boat every other weekend. That there are those that go on cruises once a year. There are those that are specialized in love gardening and doing more holistic type of medical care and psychosocial care. And that's what they're geared towards. And so when you have an ability to come in and whittle through and understand the psychosocial component of what is going to give an individual the best opportunity to want to live, to thrive, to push forward, because they've been isolated in their house. They're kind of like stuck watching TV all the time. And let's inspire somebody to do something by understanding that flavor of ice cream.
But when you advertise yourself as a free service in your brochure like you do, how is your service free to a client?
Gotcha. It's a good question, because we get that a lot, because they go, well, it's too good to be true. It can't be free. We are contracted with the assisted living communities themselves. So we are contracted. A lot of placement agencies that exist, when the legislation changed in July of 2012 that afforded these placement agencies to become legal. I was working for a major assisted living conglomerate in this area, and their contracts came across my desk. And so I got to see them all. And the thing that kind of concerned me about them is they were percentage-based in nature. So where they get 80% of the base rent per month to after somebody transitions and lives there for 30 days, like a commission, like a real estate commission, okay? So, and they get a percentage of it. Well, a lot of these big ones that are out there, they run this route, but for me, having a number of communities that were in the battery that I was working within, as well as running the Brevard Assisted Living Association at that time, I understood that it costs different to move into my communities than it did to move in some of my competitors, than it did to move into a small family care home that may be appropriate for a specific family that comes through. But business is business sometimes, and people will always be kind of jaded and geared to want to lead people to where they make more revenue. It's just the nature of business. And for me, I didn't like that concept of being built around greed. So we've structured ours in a flat rate way that there is no financial bias of going here, here, here. But our contracts, to answer your question directly, is we're contracted with the facilities themselves. So a family can utilize our services. We're able to go and show them and not have a specific logo on our chest to say, hey, I work for Market Street, or I work for Hibiscus Court, or I work for Brookdale, or I work for Victoria Landing. I don't have that logo. And so because of that, I'm on the family side of the fence, and we get to just navigate them with no bias and no skin in the game.
How about things like with assisted living, but how about if you see, if a family calls you and you're going to see that they need daycare to stay in their home, or if they need some home care services that could still enable them to stay in their home, or a combination of daycare, assistive services. Do you have daycares, family care services that you work with
We do. There are so many. The thing about being in the healthcare industry for a period of time is you get to know resources that are available, kind of like a social worker. It's not something that we have to be compensated for in every single direction. And so in that, it takes a village to take care of families at different stages and different levels. So in talking about a private duty setting, there are many agencies that we work with and have known for years and years that can come in to do and provide those services. And we just say, hey, you should call this person. They do a good job. This is their price points. And give them those tools, because again, they don't know who's good. They don't know who is going to try to take advantage of them or what. And so that fear a lot of times is what paralyzes a family to, I don't want to talk to my family because I don't want them to put me someplace, or to know I need help, or to be a burden. That's a big one that we hear all the time.
Well, when you get into,
So it's just giving referrals out.
I know, but when you get into the area of services, you've got to get the people into the right living option, and that's one of the things we wanted to talk about. But you just can't afford to develop a care plan for somebody that. Do you just get paid from the assisted living facilities themselves, or do you just, and these other services pay you?
No, it's nothing like that. That's not. We are compensated through the assisteds, and that's it. There are a number of families that are needing and looking to transition, and so that happens here. But then there are other cases that you're helping out, and you're setting the stage for the future, and you're there as an advocate, as somebody to help them navigate these pieces, and it may be 6 months, it may be 2 years, it may be whatever it is that we're trying to get. Maybe they can't afford the transition today. So being a vet, trying to help other vets, you go in and you give them the tools to say, hey, this benefit exists, this is how we're gonna get it, help them to apply for it. It changes their life,
It seems like we're missing a boat someplace along the line, because I've been in this business too, just like you have. And I know that if you have organizations like yours, services like yours, if you're doing what you say you're doing, then you're ultimately saving the federal government, the state, and the family
Without
money.
a doubt.
You're saving them money.
Without a doubt.
You're giving the people in the lowest element of care. You're getting them the help they need. There is no reason that you shouldn't be getting reimbursed for it somewhere along the line, someplace. And I think maybe that maybe the Older American Act needs to be revised a little bit, or the State Department of Elder Affairs should be thinking about what they're doing, because when our governor took away the managed care system and put it more in the hands of hospitals and certain agencies, I'm not sure we didn't do a disservice to some of the small entrepreneurs that were like you, that are doing everything you can to get the people where they need to be in the care system, which ultimately drives down the cost of care.
That's right. It is one that if you know and have been in and been exposed to a number of the communities that are out there, a lot of times a social worker that is at a nursing home or a skilled nursing facility and is looking to provide for a safe discharge, they're so busy and they are there at their desk and trying to find the best fit for the person. But it's normally those that have the budget that can send a marketer in to give them the brochures, to give them the things. So the bigger communities tend to dominate that specific piece. But there are many, many, many wonderful options that are in these smaller family care home environments or small assisted living environments, to where maybe it's a hospice nurse that's been a hospice nurse for 20 years and said, you know what, I can do this too. I can do this better, stronger, faster. And opened up her little business and says, you know what, I love those that come into my home. And that level of care for somebody that maybe can't afford a $5,000, $6,000 memory care community can still get a wonderful level of care, very competitive level of care, if not better in a lot of cases, in a cheaper environment, and to be able to help those social workers understand that.
Well, you've made an awful good case today, just in what we've talked about.
But you're talking about the cost of healthcare. If you can provide them in an opportunity that not only clinically and financially they can afford, but psychosocially, I'm happy and I want to do things, I want to garden, I want to get out on the river, guess what? That piece is, now I'm pushing forward and I am wanting to get out of bed, I'm wanting to get out of the chair, I'm wanting to do things with my life, and guess what? Then your cost of care is going to come down because you're happy, you're thriving, your meds are fixed, you've got, the oversight is there.
But Troy, people watching this show should realize that, we have a tendency to go on the internet, we find all kinds of things on the internet, and we know that there are companies that do what you do that are on the internet, but they're not personal. They don't know this area that well. They don't do the research. And I would, if I was going to use a placement service, I would want to be going with the placement services that are real, live, visible people. That's what I would want.
I would want that for my mom.
How do you go about determining which are the good facilities that you use, that you recommend to people? How do you do that?
Well, we go in, and what we do is we set up a time and we set up an interview. And when we go in to do that interview, we break down, the administrator as to what their experience is, why they got into it, what, the background. We understand the license types that they've brought into, what that specific community's license type is, how many beds or how many different units that they are open to have. We also look at what they're specialized in. Again, outside, a pricing, we talk about those three things. Financials, what does it cost to be a part of this community? That is found out in the interview. Your background, we learn about, the clinical sides of things. The licenses that are the standard license, the limited nursing services license, the extended congregate care licenses, they all have a variance on what level of care can be provided in that home as regulated by ACA, the regulatory system, okay? So when we find out which license type that is. So now I know what you can do clinically per the law. So now I have that, I have the finances, and then once we get that stuff out of the way, what is it that makes you special? What is your flavor? Are you chocolate or are you Rocky Road?
But in doing this, what if you find out somebody isn't really ready to leave their home yet?
Oh, in those cases, it happens all the time. Who wants to leave home? So in those cases, it's trying to, two things happen. A, is it okay with the doctor, and is it, if we bring in an occupational therapist to do a home safety evaluation, we bring in a nurse to kind of do evaluations on it, for the clinical stuff to make sure, are they safe to be in this environment? If we provide this and this and this service, are they safe to then be in this environment? And so we whittle through options. We whittle through private duty. We look at home care to see if we can bring them in to maybe strengthen a balance issue, or strengthen maybe I had a stroke and I have an issue with my left hand or my right hand or whatever it may be. So it's really digging in at that point to find out what they want.
Right.
If it's possible, what tools are in the healthcare community that we can bring into the situation to try to make it the best fit for them and what they want. And if it works financially, clinically, and psychosocially, then we keep them there. If those things don't and they would benefit, then we look at other options, or at least explain to them so help them.
I've found, Troy, over the years that people will call me for the same kind of assistance that you give. And I can only tell them, what I know based on my own personal experience. That's exactly what you're doing. You're finding out what's available, you're checking it out, you're making sure, so that when people call you, whether they live locally or they call you from outside the state, which I'm certain they probably do, you're able to tell them what the situation is here, what's the best thing that you can think for that person, and you always do an assessment on the people.
That's right. You always do an assessment on and do discovery on those families that come across your path, as well as the communities and the community services that are available as well. You've got to understand both sides before you can do any real help. So you have to know what resources are available, not only in the assisted living environment or in the home care environment. You have to know the entire picture so that you can try to best maneuver within the dynamic of the family. Because maybe it's the husband wants to go, the wife doesn't want to go. Or maybe it's a situation to where they can't afford. So now we have to look at veterans benefits. We have to look at Medicaid benefits.
I was going to ask you about that.
We have to look into all of those things. And well, what's it going to take to make those happen? Well, now we're digging through and we're getting in the attic and we're pulling paperwork out and we're doing all kinds of those things.
Do you work with the local VA office?
Without a doubt.
In Viera?
Without a doubt. Well, not only them, but there are a number of other VA organizations in the area that we work with that are more volunteer groups. So a lot of times, sometimes in going through the VA, it can be a little bit difficult to navigate from time to time, but there are other entities entities that can get the same process accomplished.
We don't have much time, but name another agency of veterans that you work with.
The DAV, the Disabled American Veterans, the one here locally. There's like a big orange on US 1. It's their next door neighbor. And they are a wonderful, wonderful team over there. And they're all volunteers, and it's free. So that's something that veterans, if they're looking to, if you're watching this today, if you're looking to get the aid and attendance benefit, please go out to the DAV out there on US 1 and just stop in. They're open on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 9 to 1. They're a group of volunteers, and they can help you not only with your aid and attendance benefit, if it's possible, but then also disability benefits, your at-home community program. There's so many things that they can help with.
I found that out last week when we were down at recently we were at the Melbourne Auditorium for the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and there was a mortuary company or a cremation company that specialized in veteran services. And for the service that they charged $1,748 for, there was a local organization that charged $12,000 for the same thing.
Yep.
We need to do a better job of making not only our veterans, but all people aware, or more aware of all the variety of services that are available, such as you do with Soter Family Advocates. There are a lot of things that you can do to help people get started in the right direction that don't cost them a lot.
They don't cost a dime. The stuff over the DAV, not a dime. You can get these applications done that, as you talk about, other entities, attorneys, things of that nature that can charge bigger bucks to get accomplished, and they get it done just the same way. And so it's just understanding the tools that are out there is the beginning of the battle. And that's why just over time and being in healthcare in so many different capacities that it's like, who's on the family side? Let's create something that we can get them some support.
Well, I was going to let you ask another. I was going to ask you another question, but we're out of time. We have 3 seconds. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Joe.
And I hope your viewers have watched today, enjoyed today's show. But do call Family Soter, Family Advocates, because they can help you. Thank you, Troy.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we would welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.